Alrighty, attention in the pits. All racers, report to the staging lanes. The show is about to start.
Good evening.
What happening, everybody?
What's going on?
We got Jason back this week.
Yeah, it's raining.
Yeah, it's hard to grind stumps in the rain, apparently. So tonight we're not going to be able to do readers' rides because we. What was the reason?
Well, because I started to. So I'm in the transformation of making my garage back, working on my Firebird for my channel, and so I started taking all this stuff apart. Then I realized real quickly, I don't have any other room to put this equipment to do the podcast. So I had to make an audible at the line and put all this stuff back the way kind of what it was. And I took down my mount that I had the TV on, and there's a box. Long story short, I split everything off into a feed, and it goes back into our switcher. And that's how you guys are able to see my screen, so that way I can show videos. And I don't have that TV right now. So long story short, I can't run the feed through all that stuff to get it back into the box.
Technology is supposed to make your life easier, right? Okay. Well, it is what it is, but yeah. So
we'll double down next week because I'm going to find a spot to put the stuff at.
So what are you going to do? Build you a little corner here or something for your podcast? Or
build a corner, or Jason and I, we're coming up with a really brainiac idea of doing something behind the garage. So
behind the garage?
Yep.
Say what?
Oh, yeah.
We're going to make a hidden man cave.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah. It's
going to turn into a she shed, you know that.
Oh, no.
She's
got a she basement, she corner. She can stay out of everything else.
I know how that goes.
Woman, I need my space.
You won't even know where the door's at.
Oh,
nope.
Oh.
And you got to know
hidden.
It's going to have a sign that says He-Man Woman Hater Club.
Oh, boy. Yeah. So tonight what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the how to prep an engine block, because that's what I've been sharing so much on YouTube this week, so I thought I'd go over some of those things with everybody. You know, getting the engine block prepped properly is as critical as getting bearing clearances and ring gaps set proper. If you don't have a clean engine, you get debris in that runs through the lifeblood of your engine, which is oil, and it causes a couple of different things. One of them, if you get a big piece of debris stuck in the check ball in the oil pump, you'll lose oil pressure. Doesn't necessarily mean you lost a bearing, just means you lost oil pressure because the check ball's stuck and the pump can't build pressure. And that's happened to me probably, I don't know, about 10 times since I've been building engines in the 80s. Doesn't happen a lot, but when it does, it's frustrating as all get out, because it usually happens when it's in the car and everything's hooked up and you've been driving it for a little bit, and then all of a sudden the oil pressure goes away and everybody thinks that the oil pump went bad. And no, it just happened to get a little piece of debris stuck in it. And it doesn't take much. I mean, it could look like the head of a pin. I mean, it's that small and it'll make that check ball stick. The other thing is, too, you don't want that stuff floating through the engine, because that tears up your bearings. That's why whenever a flat tappet cam fails, you really need to tear the engine back apart, clean it all out. Because if not, all that little dust or grindings from the cam going bad, that's going to go through your engine. That will tear your bearings up. So you really should do that. But so I don't know if any of you guys have been watching my videos on YouTube or not. I shared some I didn't share any videos on Facebook, but I did share some pictures. I don't know if my son can. Well, we can't pull it up because we don't have TV, right?
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, bummer.
Yep.
Okay, well, so we're going to wing it then. What we'll do is we'll...
So picture this as a hole of your oil, and this is dirt, and it went.
No, there's a ball in there,
Oh.
and that ball goes against the seat, and the dirt goes right behind that ball.
Ah.
So, and you know something we've seen while we're speaking of that for a minute. Something I've seen. Haven't seen it in a while, but I've noticed the oil pumps are not being made in China anymore. When the oil pumps were coming out of China, the seat where that ball rode inside the oil pump was eroding away in a rapid amount of time. We were getting guys with oil pumps failing at like a 500 to 1,000 miles of run time, and that's nothing. I mean, pumps shouldn't do that. And it was because the cast iron was garbage, and it was just literally crumbling away, and you'd lose oil pressure. Didn't hurt the engine, but it definitely, we had to put a new pump in it. And what I was doing for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years after I found out about that, we were taking factory oil pumps that were still good and rebuilding them with new parts, new gears and pressure relief spring and check ball and everything and bottom plate instead of using the new housings, because the new housings were just absolute garbage. And you could tell, you hit it with a file, and it was like butter. And what the factory ones, it's like concrete. You couldn't hardly budge the thing. But anyway, that's another topic for another show. But the what we're going to discuss tonight is, so whenever you're building an engine, everybody thinks that whenever you get the engine block back from the machine shop and it's been machined and it's been hot tanked. So don't get me wrong, it's cleaned, but it's not clean, if that makes sense. And you can ask my son. I used to make him scrub engine blocks and cylinder heads for hours. It takes a long time to prep a block.
Some kids get grounded. I had to clean engine blocks. That's how bad I hated it.
And he loved it.
Oh, yeah. Loved it. I couldn't wait.
But if you don't do it, and you don't do it right, then you're going to have problems. And so, you know.
And just when you think you got everything out, you know what, I'm going to run this bristle right through the oil galleys one more time, and I'm going to do this just to make sure I got it cleaned out. You run it through, and all of a sudden you see a little grit, and you're like, son of a... And you have to keep scrubbing.
What did I used to do to you after you got it all cleaned up and you had it all ready that you thought was ready?
Are you sure?
Well, what else did I do?
Well, then you would take the hose and you put it up against and squirt out all the dirt.
Well, no, I didn't do that. What I would do is all the nooks and crannies in the engine, which I knew he missed because he just didn't know what he didn't know. It wasn't because he wasn't doing it right, just he didn't know. I'd take my finger in underneath there and I'd dig out the dirt and I'd say, well, you need to keep scrubbing. And boy, that would piss him off.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, my favorite too is you only get one can of degreaser.
Yes, and make it go the distance.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the engine, most of the time, because you weren't sending them to get them cleaned at like the
hot tank.
Hot tank, yeah. We had to scrub all the crud off with a knife.
Well, you can put them in a hot tank, but that crud doesn't always come off. Not only that, the rust don't come off either. So
wire wheeling and
what we
I
did
have PTSD.
Is we would take a putty knife, scrape all the heavy shit off of it, and actually hope that there was a lot of that on there, because if it was just oil, it was a pain in the ass. But if it had the heavy crud, it came off pretty easy. And then the next step is we'd rinse it down real good with mineral spirits, get all that cleaned down to the, so that there wasn't a bunch of grease on it anymore. Then the next thing we would do is like he just said, we'd take a die grinder with one of those wire brush wheels on there, and I made him go over every inch of that block.
God.
And we still do that. And so if you look at pictures of my engines, whenever I take pictures of them, they look brand new, and that's because we spend hours cleaning these blocks.
Yeah.
Literally hours. I mean,
and it's not just the parts that you see.
No,
you have to take it off the engine stand, set the block down on its face, and get behind there where the transmission bolts up too, because you can't have that be dirty.
Hell no. Not be professional.
I used to go, Dad, you never see it. Who cares? I don't care. The customer doesn't see it, but I know.
Well, no, the customer sees it. And when they put their flywheel on, the back of the engine's all dirty. What's that doing subconsciously?
Nothing.
That millions, oh man, they may have left the inside dirty.
They cut corners way too many.
It might not have done anything to you subconsciously, but it does a customer.
It does nothing but get me excited because I got the flywheel on it.
But so, yeah, there's all kinds of nooks and crannies and everything inside that engine block that you got to dig into. And you can't just rinse it off and think that it's going to be clean. No, you got to get in there. We would use a wire wheel. We would use those Scotch-Brite pads. We use all kinds of stuff to get all these nooks and crannies cleaned. And when they're done, and every employee that I've ever had work at the shop, they always get mad at me because I can find dirt in an engine block. And it's because I've done it for so long. I know where it's all at. I know where it hides.
The reason why we get mad is because he doesn't tell you, hey, make sure you watch this area and this area. No. He goes, scrub that block. And then
I want them to learn that lesson and once only, and they won't ever forget.
He goes to McDonald's, gets a cup of coffee.
Oh, whatever.
Comes back and gets on Facebook and kisses with the customers. And then he comes out and he's like, are you done yet? I've only started 30 minutes ago, so no, I'm not done yet. What's taking you so long? I would have had this done in 15 minutes. So then you're already pissed. Then he comes back 4 hours later, and then he goes, yeah, you missed here. Oh, cool. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to rip your head off.
Yep, but you never forgot those places, did you?
No, I did every time.
No, you did.
Because I didn't want to look.
No, because what happened is you only make that mistake one time, because if you do it, you got to do it all over again, and then you got to go through the whole process again.
Yeah.
Now, this is just the scrubbing part. So the next part that is a pain in the ass is you got to get all the oil galleys clean.
Yeah.
And the only way you can do that is you have to have a stiff abrasive brush, and you run it with a drill, and you have to put mineral spirits on it. And of course, like he said, we use engine degreaser on there. So we blast all the oil passages with engine degreaser, let it sit for about a half hour or whatever, and then you go back in there with your brushes on your drill, and you run those through the oil galleys. All right, well, there's hidden areas in those too. And so, like where the oil pump mount bolt or oil filter bracket mounts on the side of the engine block and goes to the oil pump, there's a 90 right there. And right there in that corner, if you don't get that clean, I'm going to find it, because I know it's there. But if you've never done it before, you don't know. So I'll say, you sure you got them oil galleys clean? Yep. I spent an hour on them. Okay. Well, we're going to investigate.
I usually say, yep, and I run out the door. That's a tomorrow problem.
So then...
I got a hot date.
Yeah. Oh, and he did play that trick a lot on me.
I don't care if it's noon. Yeah. That's a tomorrow problem.
But I'd go in there, and I would take a Q-tip, a white Q-tip, long ones, and I'd stick it down in there and twist it a little bit and pull it back up. You didn't get it clean. So then what would happen is...
I'd shove the Q-tip up his butt.
He would get that area good and clean, but he forgot about the other one on the top of the block that goes down across. So I would, he would get it all clean, and I wouldn't tell him until after he did it. He's got it all dried off again. And I'll go in there, and I'll test the one that I just looked at, and he go, oh, yeah, you got that one nice and clean. Then I'd just go to the top of the block with that oil passage that goes by the distributor, and I'd stick it down in there and do it on that one, bring it out, it's all dirty. Then he had to start all over again. That's why he gets so pissed off. But he don't forget.
Yeah, and I also don't clean engine blocks anymore.
But there's a lot of nooks and crannies in an engine block, and you got to get them clean.
Well, and the oil passages, too, suck, especially if you get a block that someone didn't take care of. Like, they didn't do oil changes when they're supposed to. That's when it really sucks, because then you break it up, and when you're flushing out, you're pushing all that crud into those nooks and crannies that you have to scrub out again.
And and there's no easy way to do it. It just takes time. And as soon as you think it's clean, it's not. You got to do it again, and you just got to keep checking it until you get it clean. And that's why it takes so long. And we see a lot of engines come in our shop that other places build, and they are not taking that time to detail those passages. I can tell you that right now. And so, you know, does it hurt the engine? Not technically, but what it will do is whenever you pull the engine down and you look at the engine bearings, you're going to see that crud went through the bearing. Now, the bearing's designed to actually absorb that. So it's got a soft barrier layer on it, and it lets the dirt embed in that. But the problem is that scores the crank, and the bearing looks ugly, and it'll run another 50,000 miles that way. Don't get me wrong. But I just don't like seeing it. I don't want that dirt in my engine. I want my engines clean. So we spend a lot of time cleaning these engines. I tell people all the time, believe it or not, it takes 10 or 12 hours to clean an engine block. Now that sounds like a stupid amount of time, but that's what it takes if you do it right.
And that's also dressing up the block a little bit. We remove some of the flashing.
Yep, and that we do take all the flashing off the lifter bores and take it off. So these are castings, and as a matter of fact, the one that I just showed pictures of on Facebook, and I did a couple videos on YouTube with, it's a 389 block, and I hit a pocket of sand in it, and it had. Actually, what they do is they put chills, they call them, inside these castings whenever they make them to help with shrink, so that because you got thin, thick spots all over the casting. And if you don't put them chills in there, what'll end up happening is the material won't flow, or it'll shrink back, or it'll crack. So anyhow, wherever they put one of them chills at, it's like a little pad. And I happened to see that little pad was a little bit rough, and I thought, man, that doesn't look right, you know, because I've seen so many of them doing this for 45 years. I know what they look like. So I hit that with my die grinder, and a big pocket of sand came out of that. That was from the factory in 1966, and it lasted all this time. Now, if I would have never disturbed that, would have had been a problem? Maybe, maybe not. You know, I don't know. It seems like I'm the lucky guy that if I don't do this, then it ends up in the oil pump check valve. So, and that's why I do what I do. And so anyhow, I hit that thing, and I wish I had my camera on me whenever I was doing that, and I had a video of that, because as soon as I hit it, you just seen the sand come right out of that block. It was crazy. And so I had to dig all that out and clean it up and get it smoothed out so it doesn't create a problem. But that's why we go in there with a die grinder, and we get rid of all the casting flash, like he was saying, and we all along the lifter bore area and the oil pan area, along the main, the bulkheads, all those things. You have to go over every inch of this block and get rid of the flash. And the reason you do the flash is two reasons. One, it's a stress riser, so it can crack there, but that's not really the main reason we do it. We do it because the other reason is if you get one that's, sometimes you'll see it where it's just barely hanging on there. And why it stayed on there 100,000 miles, I have no idea. But I can guarantee you put that brand new engine back together, that piece is going to fall off and it's going to go right in the oil pump. It's just the way it works. And so you got to go over the whole block and you knock all those little burrs and flash off of the thing. So we do that. And then what was the other thing we do?
We also blueprint the oil pump, or the oil housing galleys.
Yep. So what we do is we, after we get the oil galleys clean, we radius the oil holes, the one from going from the oil pump into the block, and then the one going back into the engine from the oil filter adapter. We radius those. And we do that because I don't like that sharp edge. When you got a square edge and any liquid rolls by it, it's going to create air pockets and make air bubbles in the oil. And so we like to radius that off, you know, kind of like a bell shape or whatever. And then the oil can just roll over it and it doesn't get sheared. And so we do that in those two areas.
Yep. And this is where we would plug the lifter holes if needed.
Yeah, we would, if we have to, we'll tap what he's talking about. We might end up putting a restrictor in some blocks We don't do that so much anymore because the lifter manufacturers found out that's not good for the lifter itself. But in the old days, what we used to do is we used to take and tap all the lifter holes on a Pontiac engine block. Chevys are a little different, but on the Pontiacs, you can tap each one of the lifter holes and put a 1/4-inch 28 set screw in there, and you drill 30 thousandths hole in it, and you can restrict your oil flow to the push rod or top end of the engine. Like I said, we don't do that so much anymore because it's hard on lifters. And the other thing we found too is that the oil going to the top of the engine helps cool the valve spring and makes the valve springs last longer. So you don't want to limit that oil to the top of the motor. You do want to make sure you get it returned back to the oil pan as quick as possible. And that's a whole nother thing that we'll talk about in another video, or another podcast. But yeah, so, but you're right, that's what we used to do. And then we would hone all the lifter bores with a ball hone. And you got to be really careful doing that. It's, you know what, I see it all the time. The engines come in my shop and the lifter bores are too big. They're already borderline. You only want about 1/1000 and a half clearance between the lifter and the bore. And if you, even a ball hone, which is taking very minimal material away, it'll open it up another 1/2 to 3/4 of a thousandth of an inch. And it's not a big deal if you're running a solid lifter because it'll be okay. You're not trying to pump the lifter up. But if you have a hydraulic lifter, you won't get adequate enough oil to the lifter. And then what ends up happening, or the cup in the lifter, and then what ends up happening, you get a noisy lifter. So you got to be real, real careful. You don't want any more than about 1/1000 and a half. You can get away with up to 2 thousandths, but I don't like seeing them that big. So don't go nuts in there. Just all you're doing is zhuzh, zhuzh, and all that does is it just cleans off the high spots and makes the lifter bore nice and smooth, so you can your lifters will rotate. And then what was the other thing? The other thing I wanted to talk about, we do the deburred it, hone lifter bores, lifter restrictors.
Obviously, clean all the gasket surfaces.
Yep, we'll make sure and clean up all those. Oh yeah, we run a tap.
Yes, run tap through all the bolt holes.
You got to run a tap through every bolt hole on that block, and you got to be careful because what ends up happening is if again you get sand in the bottom of those, and it's from the factory. It didn't happen after the engine was together. It happened whenever it was made in a foundry. And every once in a while, and you can ask him, boy, it'll piss you off.
Mm-hmm.
You'll break a tap off in the block, and man, it is a son of a bitch to get out. And you'll spend 3-4 hours getting that damn tap out of there sometimes. Sometimes you luck out and they'll come out, but not very often.
No, you're with a pick praying to the gods.
And you got to bust it up. You got to go in there with a real small die grinding bit, and you grind off the sides of the tap, and so you can break it all up with a punch, and it's a job. So you want to be careful when you're doing that. You don't want to bust your taps off. And then the other thing is too that I see happen a lot, and I'm giving you guys a lot of tips tonight, I know, but you know what? This is what this show's all about. The head bolt holes. You want to use a bottoming tap on all the head bolt holes. And the reason you want to do that is especially if you've had your engine block decked. What happens is you reduced your deck surface height, okay, but you didn't increase the depth of your bolt holes. And if you don't run that bottoming tap in there, because there's about that much at the bottom that doesn't get tapped in the head bolt holes, and if you run a bottoming tap in there, then you don't have to worry about if your head bolt's going to bottom out before it clamps the head down. So you got to do that too.
But also, you run the tap in like a quarter at a time when you're doing those holes and blow it out. You have to take it back out, blow it out. Because if you have too much crap in the bottom, you think you're bottoming out.
Yeah, so what he's saying is you run it in and out, and it's a blind hole. It doesn't go into the water jacket like a Chevy head does or a Mopar. It's actually what they call blind hole. It's got a bottom. And if you don't keep that debris cleaned out while you're running the tap in and out, it will bottom the tap out, but it's not bottomed out yet, is what he's saying. That's a good point. And so, you know, you got to do that. And then, of course, you know, this has all got to be done before we can check deck height, okay? Mm-hmm. Because you don't want to put a new crank and bearings in the engine and a piece of debris get in there and screw up your brand new crank and bearings. So you got to do all this before you check your deck height. And but anyhow,
and believe it or not, we knock out all the freeze plugs, oil plugs, all the plugs are out of the engine, and we actually go in with where we can get in between the cylinder walls on the water jackets with the wire wheel. We clean that up in there the best we can, and we'll throw some stuff in there to try to eat some of that crap out. And and we don't paint or do anything other than when we start putting the engine back together. When we do all of our mock-up, the engine still has no caps, no plugs. It's a bare block, no paint on it.
Yep, because we're checking everything, and that way whenever we get done with, if we have to deck the block, we got to clean it again. So, you know, you think you're all done after you deck the block and you're ready to put it together. Nope, you're not ready. We got to, after we do that, then we got to clean a block again. Not to the same degree, but we still have to clean a block again. And that means scrubbing it. You know, it's not a matter of just blowing it out. We have to actually physically scrub the block and get rid of the grinding dust or the machining dust from doing the decking. And then the other thing we have to do too, because of, you know, all these engines were boring and honing and decking, and what that does, it leaves a sharp edge at the top of the cylinder bore. So we have a special cone that we put in a drill. It's at a 45 degrees, and it's got an abrasive on it. And we go in and we chamfer all the tops of cylinder bores. You don't need to do it a lot. You just got to knock the edge off of it. And the reason you do that is because when you put the engine together and you don't do that, you have the opportunity to catch a ring on there, snag a ring on that sharp edge, and bust a ring whenever you're putting it in. And sometimes you don't catch that until the engine's running and smoking, and you're trying to figure out why in the world the engine's smoking. So we have to make sure and cut a little chamfer on every cylinder at the top. Now, at the bottom is where everybody misses it, and that's what I did a video on today, is if you don't take a piece of 220 grit sandpaper and go in the bottom of the cylinder walls and hand radius that, you can't get a tool in there. You got to do it by hand, but it don't take a lot of effort. You're going to let the sandpaper do all the work, and you don't need to push real hard or anything. You just got to make sure you get all the way around the whole bottom of the cylinder, and don't get it on the cylinder wall finish or surface. All you're doing is that edge. And the reason you're doing that is because if you don't get rid of that sharp edge at the bottom, it acts like a knife blade or a plane, you know, like a wood plane, but it's going to take material off the side of your piston skirt when it comes down out of the bore a little bit, and then cocks because it's going to change direction, and it pushes the piston a little bit sideways, and it'll rub against that sharp edge, and it'll peel that piston skirt off just a tiny bit. But it'll end up in your oil filter, and you're looking at, if you cut your filter apart like we do, you're going to say, man, where the hell did that aluminum come from? Oh, it might be coming from the piston. So, and, you know, that was something that, you know, I didn't do it first when I started building engines because I didn't know about it, but I figured it out after I seen that aluminum in the oil. But yeah, there's a lot goes into block prep, and it's not an easy task, and it's not a quick task. I see guys all the time say, oh, yeah, I scrubbed it. Yeah, what'd they do? They literally, the other thing is, too, like my son said, we use engine degreaser, we use mineral spirits, we use brake clean, and we use...
well, carb clean, brake clean, whatever we can get our hands on.
Yeah,
when the boss is away, we will play.
Yeah, that's why. Hence the reason why my brake clean and carburetor clean bill at the Napa store is ridiculous. But
well, we used to just go in there. Me, Walt, my uncle, we would go in there and just say, "Put this on DCI's tab."
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, then once you're all done with that, the next step is you get to scrub it with hot soapy water, because you're not done after you do all that degreasing. You got to we got to make sure there's no oil in the casting. Otherwise, if you don't, the paint's not going to stick whenever you paint that thing.
That's what we well, I used to. I don't know if you still do or not, but I would take a torch to the outside of the block, where the paint's at, and I would dry it, and that way it cook crap out of it.
It burns off the excess oil or whatever, so you can do that too, and you'll actually see it sweat. That's what it's condensation gathering on the surface, but when you burn it off, it burns off that
Off gases it in a way.
The oily film from the casting. And cast iron is a very good absorber. It's like a sponge. It's hard to it's actually kind of hard to get rid of oil because it's been submerged in. Think about it, that thing's had oil in it since it was new, and all those little tiny pores in the cast iron, they're full of oil. So, but on the exterior surface, it's really not too bad. You can we can burn that off, like my son said, and it'll be fine. The inside, we're not too concerned about it. If you scrubbed it right and everything's prepped right, you don't have to worry about it on the inside.
Well, I always made sure, because I don't know how many guys paint the metallics Pontiac silver blue, but that stuff likes to run, and I got a heavy finger, and so if I had a fisheye, I thought, oh, just a fisheye, I can cover that with more paint.
Yeah, no worries.
It just runs.
Well, it's got metallic in it, so the metallic run.
Yeah. It'd be dripping paint off the block. I'm like, hey, runs don't rust.
Yeah. Then ask him what happened whenever it happened.
Yeah, I got to strip it all back down again.
Yeah. That's not professional. We're not doing it that way. So, but yeah, so there's other stuff that I'm probably missing that we go over. You know, you got to check the line board. You got to check the deck, make sure it's square, make sure it's at the proper deck height. You got to check the cam tunnel, because Pontiac was famous for having special cam bearings for their cam bore. And why they did it like this, I have no idea. But what they would do if the cam bore was a little tight in certain areas, they had a special cam bearing go in there. Well, we don't have those. Aftermarket don't make those cam bearings. And so consequently, we put the regular size bearing in it, and that cam tunnel's too tight. It's going to pinch down. Then you go to stick your camshaft in the engine block, and it won't turn. And so then you got to go in there and hand sand the bearing to get it to fit. And oh man, that's another thing. It's a major pain in the ass. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot goes on behind the scenes that people don't see when we build an engine, and the reason it costs so much. And you know, I tell everybody it takes between 60 and 80 hours to build an engine, and I'm probably too late on that. Because not only are you doing the engine block prep, you're checking bearing clearances, you're checking the crank, make sure it's straight, you're checking all the surfaces on the block, you're checking your, you got to file fit your rings if you're doing it right. We buy file fit rings. We don't buy just a generic ring pack. Every ring pack we buy, we have to file and make fit the bore. You got to check your piston to wall clearance, you got to check your wrist pin clearances, you got to check your big and small ends on your connecting rods. There is a ton of time just in checking parts and getting them clean for the assembly. And believe it or not, that's probably almost 2/3 of where the time goes. The rest of the time is in actually assembling the engine, degreeing the camshaft, and
well, you got a lot of time in the heads too.
Oh yeah, and checking the cam or the crank thrust, making sure it's right. And what's happened is, because the parts now, they're not consistent like they used to be back in the 80s. So now we literally have to buy our engine bearings first, put them in the engine and in the connecting rods after we've already reconditioned the connecting rod, which is a brand new connecting rod, by the way, that didn't have the right specs. So now we got to make it the right spec. Then what ends up happening is then the bearings are all inconsistent. So we have to check all our bearings and make them fit the rods properly, because sometimes the bearing tang don't line up right, or it's too wide and it doesn't fit down in the connecting rod tang locator. There's so much stuff that goes into this, guys. I can't even go into all the in depth with all the things that we do. But anyways, after all that, then we measure our bearings, and then we have to have the crankshaft ground to fit the bearing. It used to be, you know, you tell the crank grinder, yeah, I want my crank ground 10, put it on the low side, and you'd get the bearing clearance you want. Not anymore. Now you have to know what the bearings are, and the good crank grinder today is going to ask you, did you buy your bearings and put them in and check it before I do this? Because they know too. They've seen it as much as I've seen it. So it's pretty in depth. There's a lot goes into building an engine. But
So how much taper can you run in a cylinder?
I don't like any taper, and that's another thing too. If you're going to bore and hone your block, even a Pontiac block, which the bolts don't technically attach to the cylinder wall like a Chevy does, you need to use a deck plate because it does make a difference, and it can be as much, believe this or not, 8 to 15 thousandths out around on your cylinder. So you have to use, in my opinion, you have to use a deck plate. On an everyday engine, would you notice it? Maybe, maybe not. Sometimes you'll pull the piston out if for some reason you got to tear the engine back apart, and you'll see like a shiny spot on the edge of your piston. It's probably because they didn't use a deck plate, and that's where the high spot is on the cylinder now.
And have you ever used oversized flat tappet lifters for blocks that have oversized lifters? Could lifters be hard chromed on the OD to save a block?
You know, they used to make an oversized lifter. I don't know if they're still available or not because we haven't used them in years. But back in the 80s, yes, we used to do that. Speed Pro and Clevite used to have an oversized lifter you could use. And the hard chrome, I don't know, that's probably not a bad idea, but I don't know if you could do that or not. I'm not sure. Because a lifter isn't, it's a casting, and it's like a powdered metal casting is what it is. And that's how they live against the flat, you know, two metal surfaces rubbing against each other. And the reason they do that is because it absorbs the oil, like we were talking about the block does. It's got the ability to hold oil better. But I don't know if you get hard chrome or not. I never even thought about it, but it's a possibility. What you can do is sometimes with the Pontiac blocks, because their lifter bores aren't really supported real well, and they're already kind of thin around the inner side of them. But what we've done before too is you can use a Ford lifter, which is 875, and then with our race stuff, like our aftermarket blocks, we're actually using 904 lifters, which is a Chrysler size.
Do you like total seal rings?
Yeah, total seal rings are good. Actually, there's very few. I used to like Charles and Albert, and I think Total Seal bought Charles and Albert out. They were the top of the line, and now Total Seal's probably top of the line. I like Hastings rings too, and I like the Speed Pro rings if we can get the file fit ones. But if the truth be known, probably there's only 1 or 2 ring manufacturers in the whole world. You know, there's different companies that are selling them and boxing them and putting their name on them, but it's like lifters. There's only 2 companies in the world to make lifters. Well, now in China, there's probably a gazillion over there. All them guys with slanty eyes are making them.
I'm thinking about just making a mold and make my own lifters.
There you go. Yeah, we'll just make them out of plastic.
Yeah, well, we drink enough beer.
Yeah, well, we can make them out of aluminum.
Yeah.
But that's why everybody's going roller cam now. You can't, the flat tappet cams won't live, and it's 2 reasons. Number one, the material that the lifter's being made out of now in China, I don't know what they're making them out of. They might be making them out of beer cans.
Chinesium.
Yeah. And then and he's right, it is Chinesium. And then the other part of it is too, they're not machined very well either. You can watch Pal Machine on YouTube. He's got a lot of good videos on these new the lifters that are coming out of China right now and how bad they are. He used to regrind them, but it was taking over his business. He was so damn busy doing it that he wasn't making any money because he wasn't charging enough. So, but yeah.
Well, there's a science in the flat tappet lifter.
Oh yeah, it's not flat.
No.
Everybody thinks they're flat, but they're not. They're actually convex.
Yep.
So and they have to be that way. And then the lifter or the lobe on the camshaft is actually grounded at an angle. It's not flat either. And so you got a barrel shape or convex shape lifter sitting on a lobe that's tilted. And the reason they do that is because that lifter has to rotate. And if it doesn't rotate, then you got bad problems.
Yes. It becomes a marshmallow.
It becomes like a big old, I don't know, it tries to become one. And then it fills your oil pan full of dust.
Yep. Does it matter if the deck plate is steel or aluminum to match the heads?
So I don't know that 100%. You know,
Yours is steel.
well, I've got aluminum and steel.
Oh, I've only seen steel one.
Yeah, I've got both. And we use aluminum for aluminum head, and we use steel or iron for, it's actually iron, it's not steel, it's an iron deck plate I got. And we use the iron one for if we're using an iron head. Does it make a difference? I don't know. I've never actually checked it, so I don't know, but we always do whatever material head we're going to run, that's what we use.
But engine prep is almost like blueprinting your engine without doing the extra steps to blueprint the engine, like, you know.
Well, that's the next step.
Yeah.
You know, once you do your engine block prep, the next step is your blueprinting process. And we definitely, you know, we should do a video on or a podcast on that too, because that's pretty in depth too. And technically, every engine that we build now is getting blueprinted. Used to be back in the day, nobody did that, you know. And basically, blueprinting, what that means is every valve stem height is exactly the same. Every push rod is exactly the same. Every piston ring is exactly the same. Every piston is exactly the same in the deck on the block, and I pretty much, that's the way we build our engines now. I mean, once you do it that way, you can't not do it. Is kind of the way I explain it to people. I mean, that's just the way we do our engines now. Now we might set our specs different for different builds. You know, some engines we want the piston in the whole 10. Some engines we want the piston even with the deck. Some engines we want the piston out of the deck. There's advantages to running the piston 5 to 10 thousandths out of the hole. I've had customers call me up because they'd had their engine freshened by another shop, and I had the piston 10 out of the hole, and they're freaking out. You decked my block too much. No, I decked your block exactly where I wanted it to be, because I want the quench to be tight on that particular build so that we get the maximum amount of horsepower. And they don't understand that. And then once I explain it to their engine builder that's freshening the engine, why they didn't bring it back to me, I have no idea. But anyway, after I explain that to the guy, he goes, oh, yeah, that makes sense. So there's reasons for the way I do things. And it's all from School of Hard Knocks. I was just talking to my one crank grinder today about that. He's 83 years old, and I love the guy to death, but boy, he likes to talk. But anyhow, we got onto the School of Hard Knocks, and he's trying to, he's trying to figure out how he's going to pass his business on to his granddaughter's fiance. And he says, if I could have got this guy 25 years ago, by now he'd know enough that he could take over my business. But I've only had him for 2 years, and I can't download all the School of Hard Knocks from my brain into his before I die. And he's right, you can't. It literally takes years to learn this stuff. You don't learn it overnight, and you don't learn it in a textbook.
But you can learn it on YouTube.
At the DCI Motorsports Unleashed podcast.
That's right.
So all this stuff I'm sharing with you guys, you need to take notes.
Nope. I save all of them so that way whenever I take over, I'm just going to go back to the YouTube videos and watch them.
Perfect.
So...
But yeah, we haven't even dug into all the technical stuff like cam lobe separation and intake and opening ramps on the camshafts, and the reason that you have a offset and a non-offset wrist pin. I mean, there's so much stuff that goes into this, guys.
That stuff is on YouTube already.
You're right, but we got to talk about it too.
What else? I think that's about it.
Yeah, and you know what? It's bullshit, because I only had one beer tonight. I'm out of beer.
Yep. And this time I didn't contribute.
So, but yeah, so catch you guys up a little bit on the new cylinder heads too, the D ports and the round ports. I took the cylinder head back out to my tooling maker. Deke, I don't know if he's watching tonight. I hope he is. Good guy, and he's going to help us get the changes made. The tooling's already back at his place. My foundry, Rich at the foundry, he gathered everything up and shipped it all back up to Deke. And Deke's made the changes, hopefully, in the drawings, and he's going to fix all the tooling and get it where I want it to be. It wasn't a lot of things, but it was enough that it's irritated me because I want these things to be right. And you guys have been watching me long enough now on podcasts. You know that I'm not happy with just good enough. It's got to be right.
The 1.4 was too close to the other one, so you have to make all new tooling for that.
If that's what it is, that's what it is. I can't help it. That's just the way I am.
I try to explain to him, guys, Dad, it'll be fine. You know, no one's going to notice, but no.
Nope, it's got to be perfect. So we're fixing all that, and he's right. There are some cosmetic changes I made that most people just say screw it.
See,
but I can't help it. I don't call it OCD.
The one sandcasting thing that they put in the model, it's not even from the sandcasting. With the sandcasting look that my dad had put into the model, the spec was up just 10 thousandths.
Well, no,
Can't have that.
It was actually off about 50 thousandths. And
Cannot have it.
No, I cannot.
Because you guys are going to run slower with that 50 thou difference on that sandcasting.
The cosmetic part is not going to make a damn bit of difference. But you know what? Whenever it's all painted and everybody's got their chrome valve cover on there and they got their factory-looking intake that we're going to make too, and their Quadrajet with their ram air setup with their GTOs and Trans Ams or whatever. And you know what? Only a real discerning eye is going to be able to tell the difference between my head and a factory head.
And you know what we do with those kind of people? We take them out back and we give them a black eye.
Well, in all honesty, it doesn't really matter, but it's just something I personally want to do. So I'm a perfectionist when it comes to that kind of stuff. The other part is too, I changed the intake port because of the casting didn't come out the way my model was. And so that had to be changed, and Deke was great, man. He knew exactly what I was talking about. I've been working with him long enough now that he talks the lingo. At first I don't know if he kind of understood what I was talking about.
No one understands what you're talking about.
No, it's because like I'm talking Chinese to Americans. I don't know, but
Well,
anyhow.
yeah.
So But now, you know what? I just say, hey, you know what? I don't like that short turn leg gate. Oh, yeah, I see that. And then he changes it, and he knows exactly what I'm doing. Same with the long turn, all that. So now he knows what a long turn is. He knows what a short turn is. He knows where the apex is. He knows where the push rod bulge. All that stuff matters, and thank God I found Deke, and he's doing a great job. So
and the poor guy, he never used to drink.
I don't know about that, but he may drink heavily now after meeting me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I am a perfectionist. Poor guy. And but anyway, so we got that rolling, and hopefully he's going to get all my tooling back to the foundry, get some more castings made, and then if everything, get them machined, and if everything looks really good, and really good, then I'll be ready to start taking people's money. I know a lot of guys are, wanting to give me that, getting a deposit in, and don't worry, you're on my list. But the thing of it is, guys, I don't like taking money until I know I'm ready to go. So
I'll take your money. I can't guarantee it's going to be a deposit towards heads,
Yeah.
but I'll take your money. I got a Firebird.
Don't give your money to my son because it's going to be donated.
Yeah. And if
Firebird,
a set
what's
of
his
heads
son?
fall off the back of a truck at a certain location,
Thank you in advance.
yes,
So
you will have real sandcasting.
I smell a pipe. Somebody's smoking pipe. You smell that tobacco? It smells good.
I can
That's not
smell
wacky
anything.
tobacco. But yeah, so that's good news. We're coming along on that. Deke's also doing the tooling for my new dual plane intake, factory appearing dual plane intake. Say that 10 times fast. Anyway, that piece is coming along really nice too. There was a couple things that he wasn't real sure about, and I understand because you don't want to screw it up You don't want to go through this again like we are.
Yep.
So I love you, Deke. So anyway, he's getting that all straightened out, and hopefully we're going to get the tooling made up for that here pretty soon too. So possibly, I'm not putting anybody on the spot, but possibly we might be able to release the heads and the intake pretty close at the same time. And then, of course, we're going to be working on this intake manifold as well, and get that thing all finished up and ready to go. And I got a local foundry I think I'm going to try to work with on this. And my son's going to start working with this guy, and we're hopefully going to be able to create a good relationship with my son and him so that he can grow his business too. So.
And yes, my wife pointed out there was no Philip the Third tonight.
Nope.
I wasn't going to bring it up because I didn't want to jinx him, but hopefully he's already gotten it. He's at the beach with a lady friend.
Ooh,
so
I didn't know he was going with a lady friend.
Well, that's what he alluded to.
Okay. Well, good for
Okay.
him.
No time for DCI. He'll catch up later.
That's
Yeah,
right.
you know, I don't blame him. I'd be at the beach too. As a matter of fact, what time is it?
So hopefully he's already gotten it, and I didn't jinx him.
Well, you know, Phil, there's absolutely no way he's not sitting on the beach watching us right now. I can
No.
guarantee it. He said he wasn't going to, but
Nope.
I can tell you right now. And you know what? Speaking of Phil,
Oh, yeah.
remember the engine diaper that Phil sent us? Here it is. So,
Thank you, Phil.
Yeah, this thing is awesome. This would be just what we need. So when my son blows the engine up,
Yep, I was gonna say the
Well,
tag.
hopefully that doesn't happen this
The
time.
tag on here says rated for over 7,000 horsepower or 7,000 RPM.
Won't need this until you
That's right.
do not install it.
we're just busting his chops. It wasn't my son's fault the engine blew up. That was just an
John
unfortunate.
Mullen.
John Morris says Philip the Fourth in 9 months.
Yeah.
If we just got another viewer.
Right? That's funny.
So what about the new machine you got here? You gonna bring that up?
Oh, so Jamie and I, we made the purchase of getting a T-shirt machine, and we're learning that right now. So we will be making apparel, and hopefully we'll have that coming soon as well. So
If you watch Johnston CNC Design on, what is that how you got it on Facebook?
Johnston Fabrications.
So, okay, Johnston Fabrications on Facebook. I think Jamie posted a video of that machine running.
Yep. So we are working on trying to get shirts. As Jamie says, full color apparel. So that will help us be able to control costs better. Because right now, if you go to a place and try to get shirts made, the prices are everywhere. They're all over the place. And you have to order a minimum. And yeah, that's why we kind of haltered with the whole shirts right now. Because
Yeah, T-shirts are kind of one of them things that is just, you know what, it's good for advertising or our fan base, but it's not something that, I mean, that we can, because we don't have the group of people like, I don't know, what's that guy's name that has the hot rod factory or the
Cletus.
Cletus, yeah. Yeah, Cletus has got millions of viewers, and he actually started a T-shirt business, and he does it for other businesses too.
Yep.
So
yes, we are. Oh, here she comes, my little pumpkin.
Asshole.
is that an iron-on transfer?
It is.
Yeah, got t-shirt press it.
Cool.
Yep.
That'll work.
So it's pretty cool.
That's pretty in-depth detail on that.
Yeah.
Yep.
How much is the ink for that thing? That's crazy. Yeah.
What color it is, but it's
Yep.
expensive. It's cool.
Yeah, no doubt. There's a lot of colors on that.
Gucci Johnson apparel.
Yep.
Gucci.
Gucci Johnston apparel.
So my
That's
question,
what you ought to call it.
I was just thinking that now that we're sitting here talking, can you pull that image in that we got and turn it into something to put it on one
Yep.
that shirt so we can make the judge shirts like we were talking about?
Yes. Yep.
There we go. Game on.
Yep. We can take the Le Mans race car, put it on a shirt with our Johnston, with DCI Motorsports Unleashed on it, and of course DCI Motorsports up front, and that could be one of the shirts that we use. That would probably be more for us because somebody wouldn't want our car on there, but you never know.
Yeah. Steve Morse has his on his T-shirts,
Yep.
so you don't know.
I mean, we can put Judgment Day underneath of it, and it could be in full color.
Yep, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. So make sure you guys, because we didn't have the readers, or I keep saying readers, podcast writers.
Watchers ride.
Watchers rides.
Yeah, so watch your rides. We didn't have that this week, but next week hopefully we'll be wired up and ready to rock and roll. So
Yep.
please send your videos,
Yep.
and for whoever sent them this week and we didn't get them on, we'll get caught up next week.
Yep.
So
For sure. Like I said, I'm gonna have a whole new setup. Apparently, my dad needs to buy a trailer. Everyone's saying we need to just put a podcast trailer up.
yeah. Well, we got
Then
one.
we take the show
But
on the
we-
road.
But we got a car in it. Where did the trailer go?
Yeah. Brandon. So
Holy
that
shit, my trailer's gone.
that will answer a lot of questions.
Yeah,
from
now I
earlier
know
in the
how he's
podcast.
funding the Firebird deal.
Yeah, the GTO's
Parts and
the
everything.
GTO's in the trailer too.
Oh, boy. Yeah, somebody got a deal.
So
Yeah.
it's tucked away over there perfectly.
So you guys seen the scenario or scenery changed here. So now the Firebird's back and he's doing his. Make sure you follow him on his podcast
Yep.
because he's doing. He's going to start building on this thing again.
My channel.
So,
Yep.
Yep. And then we'll get the GTO back in eventually because he got the engine out of it.
Yep.
And so now what we're going to do is I'm going to take that back to the shop and find out what kind of carnage we have there, and then get that thing ready to go back in and get it running.
Yep.
So,
Yes, a big Johnston garage. You're going to see a Firebird build. That's going to be like the main part of that channel because it's my car and that's really the only project I have. But then we're going to intertwine channels together, and we're going to see the Le Mans get built on both channels and the GTO get built on both channels.
Oh yeah, my crankshaft is done for the Le Mans, so I got to go pick that up from my crank grinder. He fixed it for me, so.
And also, did you see Dragway 42 got sold?
IHRA bought it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's Darnia or something like that.
They renamed it. Yeah,
Yep.
I think it's that guy's name, but I don't know that for sure. But yeah, nope, that's good news because it's going to be an IHRA track. He
It's
bought
getting-
IHRA, I think, too.
Okay. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
getting so 42 is a new track as it is. It's getting another facelift with paint, and they're adding more
They've made
amenities.
a lot of improvements to that track. That track is beautiful
Yep.
now. So
And then VHP 454 asks, my question is this: have you used aftermarket blocks for all Pontiac? From all Pontiac?
oh yeah, we've used both the aftermarket blocks. Yep.
I haven't seen an IA1 block in a long time though.
No, so the guys, some of you guys know, some of you don't. I actually designed the blocks that are available right now. I designed it back in the 80s. And long story short, it ended up not being mine, but I actually designed that block way back. I mean, that was a long time ago. And so the IA2 was the one I actually designed, and the IA, and then all Pontiac bought it, and they called it the IA2, and then they had some changes done to it with the aluminum blocks because the structure wasn't, they're using the same tooling for the iron and the aluminum, and the structure wasn't strong enough for the aluminum, so they had to redesign it a little bit, make the bulkheads thicker, and add some material to it here and there. But basically, it's still my design. I designed that block way back in the day, and some of you know that, some of you don't, but now you know.
We have an alert.
Uh-oh.
Tim Corsiak was driving his GTO to a car show on Saturday, and he hit a deer. He said it's not bad, but he still has to get it fixed.
Oh, man, that sucks. Sorry to hear that, Tim. Here, I was thinking the alert was as he got in a street race and blew the Mopar away.
No.
Oh, man, that's a bummer, dude. Hopefully not too much damage and you find a good body shop.
I was
Yeah.
going to say, he lives in Michigan, so it's a little far to get to yours.
Yeah, we're so busy right now, I couldn't get him in for a while anyway.
And Mark Marshall says, Don, mine's aluminum. Is it an IA1 or IA2?
That would be an IA2.
So, what else? I think that's it. I think we covered everything.
Yeah, so you know what? Just wanted to share that stuff with you guys. That was something that came up when I was working the shop this week, and I thought, you know what? This would be a good topic tonight. What's going to happen next week? I have no idea. So we'll find out when we get there.
Yep. So, yes, please like and subscribe and share.
Yep.
And
Check
if
out
not,
the other channel.
People are missing out.
Yeah, we gotta grow our channel. We're getting there.
Yeah.
We're at 5,500 now.
Yep.
So we're a little over halfway to our 10,000 mark this year, but we're running out of time. This is what, September.
Yep.
So we got October, November, December. We only got 3 months to get 5,000 more subscribers.
You're trying to get to 10, and I'm just trying to get to 1,000.
Yep. Well, you need to get to 1,500 so you can monetize,
No,
right?
it's 1,000.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So we need to get him to 1,000 so he can monetize.
Yep.
And we need to get our channel here to 10,000 so that people will start sharing more, and that'll help the channel grow.
Yep.
So.
And then that way he can buy a Steve Morrison car. Steve Morris, not Morrison. He's not Jimi Hendrix or something.
Right. I have the opportunity to buy my old tube chassis car back. I don't know if he watches our show or not, but and he's willing to give me a smoking good deal on it. And I might end up doing that. It's just that I'm not in a position right now because I got to finish paying for the cylinder heads and get that program finished first. So
Then
we might play the tube chassis car again.
And then it's twin turbos. And then I'm calling out Big Chief.
Oh boy. Oh boy. You better have a lot in the tank.
I got Don Johnston, the medicine man. That's all I need.
Yeah. Who's got the pocketbook though?
Don Johnston, the medicine man.
Yeah. All right, guys. Unless there's any more questions, it's time to wrap it up, I think.
Yeah, Todd said he was loaded and ready to go testing too. And that's when I found out about it, actually, Todd. I was getting ready to go out to the 42 that night too, to come see you. And he said after he just got his engine fixed, and 42 canceled the test and tune to make the track longer.
Yeah.
And they did too, well, way longer. And then Perry has one more question real quick. What's your take on thin rings like 043 with Total Seal AP Advanced Profile rings with Extreme Plateau Hone?
Well, we've actually been doing some of that already, and those are, and there's horsepower there. But the only thing is if you don't get your cylinder walls perfectly round and clean, that's another thing too. Oh, you know what? That's another thing I want to share with you guys on the cleaning part. Well, you know what? We'll do that on the assembly because it's part of the assembly. But anyways, if the cylinder walls are not perfectly round with no taper and your cylinder wall finish is not exactly what it needs to be, and you actually have to have a meter to read that. You can't do it with your fingernail and the eyeball like we used to. But anyway, if you get your finish right and your cylinder walls are round, there's power to be made there. Now, it's not big power, but it is power. I mean, you can make another 8 to, in some instances, 15 horsepower. So, but it's very finicky, very time-consuming to get that procedure proper, which is expensive because you're paying for time. And then the other part of that is, too, is it doesn't last as long as like a traditional 16th, 16th, 3/16 ring package. So that if you're going to do that, just know the maintenance goes up. Instead of you getting to run your engine for 2-3 years maybe, every season you're going to have to tear it back down. You got to go through the whole honing procedure again and cleaning and everything to run that ring again. So it's not something that the weekend racer is going to do. If you're class racing and you're you need to have every amount of horsepower, you know, like a super stocker or pro stock or somebody like that, it's worth the extra effort and time because you want to be competitive. But for a bracket racer or a weekend warrior, I don't recommend it. You don't need to go to that extent for the little bit of horsepower you're going to gain and the amount of maintenance it requires.
Yep, Richard Undersay says, makes a difference in stock or super stock.
Yep, it does make a difference there. And those guys are looking for 8 horsepower, you know, where the bracket racer, who cares? You got if does it matter if you run 12 flat or if you run 1190s? No, it don't, because you're going to put that number on your windshield and that's what you got to run. So for the weekend guy, it's not really worth it. But if you're trying to break, you know, records or you're trying to be competitive in a class, then you have to do that.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for hanging with us. Jason came right back in time to say goodbye.
Yep.
So with that, that's all for me. Jason?
See you next week.
All
All
right.
right, good night, guys.
Good night.
We'll see you next week.
Yep, stay safe. See y'all next week.